Stephen Meade again, back with another Bullseye Guy podcast. Super excited to have Sohail coming from us from the UK. I have watched him online for probably at least a year and a half with an amazing Facebook group, some of the success stories he has, some interesting ways he's using Clubhouse and the new technologies, and really excited, fortunate for him to spend the time with us. And we're going to do the perfunctory introduce yourself, Sohail, and tell us about you.
Thank you. My name is Sohail Kahn. I'm known as the joint venture expert. And just a brief background to myself, a quick background. I built a very successful SaaS e-learning business back in early 2000, scaled that to 8 figures using just joint venture and strategic partnerships. And then in 2008, during the last recession, I lost everything, went from being a multi-millionaire to totally broke. Set myself a challenge in 2009 to make $1 million in 12 months. Ended up doing a $1.5 million joint venture licensing deal in the space of 30 days. After that, became known as the joint venture expert. Since then, built a very successful corporate consulting practice in corporate America. Exited that in 2017 via an acquisition partnership for 8 figures. And now I'm pretty much semi-retired and here to give back, and grateful to be here on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And from a geography standpoint, you know, we're a flat world and a flat society now. However, you used to be in the States and now I think you're in London. Talk to us a little bit about sort of
Correct.
where you
Before
are.
the States, I was living in Dubai. Then I moved to the States, lived over in California, lived in Los Angeles first, then moved to Malibu. Then obviously we had kids and then came back to the UK. And now for us, it's a new chapter and a new dawn, and possibly maybe moving back to Dubai very soon. So it's all up in the air. It's very uncertain, isn't it, the world at the moment? So we're just making sure that, you know, we know which direction we're heading in, obviously for our kids, which is the priority for us right now. But happy to be here and happy to be around loved ones at the moment. So it's a great time right now for us.
Yeah, and you and I had tried to connect while you were in Malibu, and now that you're over there, we can't get in and out of the UK right now because of COVID, but
It's crazy.
Dubai is open, so there's some
Yeah,
interesting things going on around the world.
very cool, and I can't wait to meet up finally as well, especially if we get a chance to meet up in Dubai, because some amazing things are happening right now. So regardless of what's happening around the world, there are some huge opportunities, and you know, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so let's start with some basics. What would you, I'm pedantic on words. Words matter.
Sure.
You know, and even in our business, we talk about trade, but trade has 9 different connotations. So when you talk about a joint venture, you're sort of online right now between Facebook and Clubhouse. You are the global joint venture expert. Let's start
Correct.
at a baseline. What do you define as a joint venture and how does it work?
So a joint venture, basically, when people ask me what it is basically a strategic partnership between 2 or more entities that share complementary resources. So I'll give you a classic example. Let's say you have a bathroom suite manufacturer and a bathroom tile manufacturer. Both of these companies, they see each other as competitors, but they share the same complementary resource, which is their customer base.
Yeah.
So they attract the same customer base. But the problem is, because they see each other as competitors, they're highly unlikely to form a joint venture partnership. And this is where people like me come in the middle as a joint venture expert or a joint venture broker. We basically bring these 2 entities together, form a joint venture partnership, create a joint venture deal, and we obviously make money off that deal, whatever that deal is, whether it's $500,000, $1 million, 10 million, 50 million. We broker that deal and we manage that deal also to make sure that that joint venture goes from idea to implementation to fruition to monetization, and obviously we make a commission on that. So that's the basic fundamentals of how joint ventures and strategic partnerships actually work.
So let's talk about it, because I think in watching you online and following you, my guess is there's 2 lanes that you go down. Let's talk lane 1. I'm big on staying in a lane. Lane 1 is, as a joint venture group, that's an actual process or resource. It's something that you actively get involved in helping manage that process, which I think is different than some of the stuff you do online, which is more sort of educational training where people do it on their own. Let's stay in lane 1 first. Talk to us about the company side of what you do as a service and the kinds of companies you target.
Okay, this is brilliant. We have 3 different areas that we target. One is the standard joint venture brokering, and that is basically, like I said, going and finding partnership deals for clients, putting clients together, monetizing that partnership deal. So that's the main fundamentals of what we do as joint venture brokers. That's basically the staple service that we offer. Number two is joint venture consulting. And that's something that I did a lot of before I sold that business for 8 figures back in 2017. That was going into corporations, showing them how to implement strategic partnerships, implementing a strategic partnership system for them, getting them to actually do the implementation and do all the work. And we just do the consulting side on it. So there's a big difference between the first and the second. The first is we get involved with the whole cycle, through the whole life cycle of the joint venture. Whereas the second one is, yeah, we just tell them what to do and we say, here's what you do, here's how you do it, and they get on with it. And the third one is what I call the joint venture introducer, which is basically quite common now. We basically use LinkedIn to do outreach for clients to basically connect them and introduce them to decision makers on LinkedIn in corporations. So we have different facets of what we do. And it's like a lot of people, when they hear the term joint venture, especially online, they seem to think back to the sort of the internet marketing joint ventures where you're just promoting to each other's lists. No, it goes way beyond that. We tend to focus more on basically asset-based joint ventures and resources that we can leverage. And we see how we can bring people together and monetize relationships. So that's one of the biggest things that we tend to do.
So for my audience, I'm fortunate I have a sophisticated audience. At least I think I do. I'm going to, and again, the bullseye guy. So I'm pedantic on wording. Lane one for you, to me, is like PwC, where
Correct.
they're the guys that'll go in and do the implementation and do the work and hold audits and change management, process reengineering.
Yeah.
Lane two for you is like Mckenzie. Mckenzie wants to show up and be the smartest guys in the room, lay a plan out and tell you how to do it, but then you have to go execute it.
Perfect. Yes.
And then lane three is just utilizing technology as a way to scale joint venture for other people. Is that sort of fair at a high level?
Perfect. Well done. Bullseye. Bullseye.
Good, because again, there's distinctions between the big consulting firms, and if you're a Fortune 1000 or Global 1000 company, the companies know those distinctions, so they're hiring somebody for a specific reason. Let's go back to lane one, the PwC. You're in getting dirty, managing the process. Are there certain industries or types of companies and size of companies that fit that model very well?
Great question. Very great question. Yeah, we've found success in the larger software-based companies because for us, in terms of not only just recurring revenue, but also the software-based companies seem to be the ones that have their eye on the ball very, very well. So in terms of strategic partnerships, what they're looking for is fulfillment, lead acquisition, and they're looking for customer retention at the same time. And that really helps in terms of the offering that we bring them. Because here's what you do. Here's the actual process. First of all, customer avatar, right? Who's your ideal customer avatar? What does that look like? Number two, customer audience, okay? Once they've identified a customer audience and they've targeted that customer audience, then it's our job to identify an alternative audience that they can basically leverage. So what we do is we build relationships and we build rapport with people in the industry or companies that have access to the same customer audience that they're after. Okay. And then it's just a matter of convincing them to endorse that product or service to their customer audience. And that's basically how we use strategic partnerships. And it's really interesting to find that when you go into corporations, especially Fortune 100 and 500, they already have strategic partnership directors, head of strategic partnerships already there, but most of them don't really have a clue how to implement a strategic partnership campaign, because a lot of these people have been promoted within rather than brought in externally. So they were probably once a business development manager or a marketing manager, and they've been promoted to head of strategic partnerships, for example. But the end game really is they don't have that full capacity or knowledge to be able to do that. And that's where people like us come in to help them to implement and map out the actual system they should be using for strategic partnerships.
So let's stay in that lane. Again, I like completing thoughts so people can follow this. You dropped a bunch of P's in there.
Yeah.
Partnership. I tried to create something years ago, and once we're done offline, I'll share this with you and you can go take and run with it. Cool. We did a program in Chicago. Chicago came to us, said, what can we do? And we looked, there were 187 Fortune 500 companies headquartered in Chicago years ago. And I created a program called a P5 initiative. And the goal was to go to big companies and say, how can we get that company to partner, pilot, prototype, purchase, or promote early stage technologies. So how
Very
can
cool.
you get a company to identify what's their risk profile? Do they want to partner with somebody and
Yeah,
define that? Do they want to pilot new technology, prototype? And you kind of have to find that risk profile and find
I like
companies.
that.
But at the end, it's all strategic value, which is what you're identifying. These big companies just don't know how to cross that chasm.
Correct. Yeah, and that is the biggest hurdle for them, and that's where people like us come in to really help them, especially on the implementation side. And I like that you mentioned those 5 Ps, for example, and that sort of covers a lot of the areas, especially in the tech world. And what we're finding it's the tech industry that are doing more strategic partnerships now more than ever. And also, I always say, look, if you're a tech startup, for example, and you're going after investors, the first thing you need to do is get some partnerships on board, whether they're brand partnerships or strategic partnerships, because the partnerships, what they do is they validate your venture. So if your venture is being validated by these partnerships that have confidence in you, then it's easy for investors to get on board. So we meet so many people who are looking for investment, but they have nothing in place. They have no
Yeah.
validation, and that validation comes from those partnerships. So I would always say get partnerships on board first, and then go and seek those investors. And then those investors will be more inclined to invest in your business because of the validation you have from those partnerships.
This is where I was excited to finally talk to you. Hopefully I can participate in some of your clubhouse and things. We'll move to that, but
Oh, yes.
I deal with that a lot as well. And investors and potential are always coming to me saying, we need investors. What can I do? Raising money. If you ever use this in clubhouse, just give me
Yeah.
credit for it. 3 simple words. Everything you need to know about raising money is 3 words. Do you want to guess
Go
what
for it.
they are? You kind
No,
of
go.
said it, but I boil
Okay.
everything down to very specific. Take a
Go for it.
guess. 3 words.
Go for it. Tell me.
Capital follows customers,
Oh, of course. Perfect.
which is kind of what you're saying is get a
Yeah,
partnership, if you can.
exactly.
The first question investor almost always is going to ask you is who's using it? Who's your customer?
That's
Capital
right.
follows
Those
customers.
customers. I love that.
And
Very
that was
cool.
the 5P was how do you define a customer? It could just be a pilot. If you're running a pilot in a big organization, oh, who's your customer? Oh, we're running a pilot with Oracle or Disney. Like cross that little customer acquisition, capital gets so much easier.
I love that. Yeah, capital for those. Yeah, pretty
Capital
very
follows
cool.
customers, very focused.
I'll
Love it.
credit you.
Yeah.
But like
So
I say,
my
you're welcome. You're welcome in my picture many times. Like I said, we
I,
definitely
I
will
I
have you
would
in the
I would
picture.
love
Yeah.
to help in any
Yeah.
capacity. Just pull me up on stage. I'll moderate. I'll support you. I'll back you up. Let's move
Very cool.
to lane 2, the McKenzie model.
Yeah.
So the McKenzie model, who's an ideal customer for that? Because some companies, we deal with the same thing. Some companies want not only somebody to do all the work, they want somebody to blame at the end of the day. That's why they like
Oh, yes.
PwC. They like the consultant firm they can blame. That McKinsey model is a little different. Those are companies that are probably a little more early adopter, a little more
Yeah.
aggressively moving into new markets, new industries. So again, similar question. Is there a certain industry or size of company that you work well or you perform best in that lane too?
I think again it comes down to a few factors. Now we always tend to work with companies who have strong revenue. I mean, minimum for us would be round about sort of about the 25 million turnover. That's the minimum that we would even
Perfect.
think about going into, because when I was doing consulting in the corporate space, I was charging between $30,000 and $50,000 a day for corporate consulting. And we've had some bigger companies in the 9-figure range. We had one 10-figure business company that we consulted for. But what I like about those companies is, and what we do primarily, traditionally, is we do like a 50-page audit, and then we go in, and what we do is very clever. We're basically using facts and figures that have been given to us by the actual corporation. So it's no bullshit, it's no theory. We're actually throwing back figures and facts that are actually being documented and given to us through the audit. So I think it clarifies more about our position. And also the main thing that we see a lot of gaps that they don't see. They tend to work within that business and within the parameter traditionally in terms of what they do as a business, in terms of whatever industry it is. And then we come in from the outside and we give our thoughts based on those components and the data that we've basically recovered or we've got from that business. So I think it works really, really well. And then our job is basically done. It's just showing them what they're not doing, what they should be doing, and how they should do it. And then our job's basically done.
Yeah. And again, I appreciate you giving me target revenue and things because if not, like we deal with big companies and I go, oh, one of our spaces is the automotive industry, but within there, I'm going after Ford, Porsche, General Motors.
Of
You have
course,
to
of course.
clarify the company name and the size of revenue
Yeah.
so people send you a target. Otherwise, it's not efficient enough. In that second lane, Sohail, there's a term that some people are aware of called the intrapreneur. So in the big companies, they're trying to be entrepreneurial, but they're really not. They want to be forward thinking, but they're not willing to go outside. In that Mckenzie model, do you work more with the C level who then implements strategy down, or are you working with the intrapreneur group, which are sometimes these little pods within a big company who's trying to do the new technology or the partnerships?
It's interesting because most of the times we work with the C-level, but there's only been some instances where we've worked with entrepreneurs. But it really depends on the culture also of the organization that we go into. So it's always fitting on what the culture is that we go in to see, and also from the audit we get as well, because the audit gives us an organizational structure and
Yeah.
gives us an indication of whether they are entrepreneurial or whether they are C-suite based. So that's a great question.
Yeah, and again, we'll circle back offline. I have a 17, I don't even remember now, 13, 14. It's not that long, but we have a whole internal audit. We worked with PwC years ago on the P5 initiative to find out, what's their risk profile, what's their definition of early stage, who is the
Love that.
check writer, and the goal was to target the actual check writer within the organization who could pay for a pilot
See,
and
this
then
is
find
this is
out
where
their
you've
risk profile.
this is where you've got it spot on, because you need to have those metrics. Most people will go into an organization thinking they're going to get a contract or they're going to get a tender, or but they have no indication of what direction they're going in. So I think those sort of metrics are important if you want to have a higher success rate of not only working with that organization but getting paid as well. So I love that. Absolutely great.
Well, and not only that, again, I'm not here promoting myself. My audience knows, but I have a 10-step program called a Bullseye Belief System. Step 2 is what's in it for you, what's in it for
Yeah.
me. So yeah, the organization doesn't care about you.
No.
They care about making their bonus or sending their kid to college or getting home quicker. And so if you
Exactly.
find out those motivation points, then you can align your offering into their motivation.
Spot on. And that's what building rapport is all about. If you find those touch points, you work on those touch points, leverage those touch points, and that's where you build your rapport. So yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and so lane 1 and 2, I get those are big opportunities. They're also harder to scale because they're not duplicatable. The old Michael Gerber, the E Myth,
Yeah, correct.
so let's switch to lane 3, because now with the use of technology and platforms, again, another one of my jokes is before the internet, there was no internet.
Yeah.
And,
Like
and
that.
people laugh, but the internet enables you. Like we were dealing
Yeah.
with a lot of guys during the ICO round. They couldn't figure out how you could fund a company for $40 million in 17
Mm.
minutes. And the joke was
Oh,
before the internet, there was no, just like you
yeah.
with Clubhouse. We'll talk about that. If you have an audience of 4, 5, 6,000 people who like you can fund something very quickly if you've aligned your audience values to your offering.
I totally agree. Yeah, totally agree on that.
And so let's talk about the lane 3 of technology. What are some of the technology platforms you use? How have you been effective? And pick one, because I know you're on Clubhouse, which I tried to get you in on, but you had a European, somebody else got you in and got credit, but that's
Yeah.
okay. You're on Clubhouse, you're on Facebook and have a big group. I think you also have a YouTube channel. Just pick
Well, I'll tell
one
you.
initially.
Okay, I'll talk about three, but I'll pick one.
Okay.
Facebook was our preferred method of choice when we were doing a lot of social media, for example. But it's changed. The dynamics have changed a lot since the launch of Clubhouse, for example. But then we also have LinkedIn, and obviously, as you know, LinkedIn was acquired by Microsoft. LinkedIn is still our preferred platform of choice for outreach. I'd say for traffic, it's definitely Clubhouse, but Facebook engagement is going down a lot. So
Yeah.
whereas we have a group on Facebook, the engagement is not as much as it used to be there. Now it's all Clubhouse. Now it's going to be all audio centric because there's loads of new platforms being launched similar to Clubhouse. One thing that I found that was amazing was the quality of people on Clubhouse compared to Facebook. So it's very similar to LinkedIn. You have very high net worth individuals on Clubhouse. So obviously it's a new platform, so a lot of people are coming on there right now. But I think the quality of people on Clubhouse has really, really shocked us in terms of, the high net worth, the thought leaders, the millionaires, the billionaires
Yeah.
on Clubhouse, who are now very easy to reach and have a conversation with if if they like what you're offering, they like how you talk, they like how you speak, they like how you think. So yeah, it's interesting. But LinkedIn is still our preferred platform for outreach when we do for clients to get them introductions to corporations. But Clubhouse, I think, is a new disruptor in the market. It is absolutely phenomenal as a traffic source and also for collaborations. The amount of collaborations I have been approached for on Clubhouse is pretty phenomenal. And for me, it's really funny because I am semi-retired. Before Clubhouse came about, I was getting ready to hang my spurs and hang my boots up, and now we have Clubhouse. So
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it's phenomenal. But Clubhouse is I think it's right now it's the disruptor. So yeah.
All right. So again, we're in that car right now. We're in the Clubhouse car. I've got 3 questions for you.
Okay.
Question 1, why do you think they were so successful? I have a theory on it. All my theories are very simple. Why do you think Clubhouse was successful early on in garnering the kind of level of audience that they did?
I think that when they first started out, they had most of the Silicon Valley founders and the tech industry, and it was a slow uptake. But then I think what happened is it's the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. That's what the actual platform has done for people because and here's the thing, it's interesting, right? I only came on there I think in December, and when I first started, all of us were on there like nearly 24 hours a day, to be honest with you, to build
Yeah.
momentum and what have you. And it's just FOMO. It's the fear of missing out. You're in a room and people come into a room like celebs, thought leaders, or a millionaire or billionaire might come in and there's a conversation going on. It's very difficult to leave a room. It's like, let's say you were in a hotel lobby and Bill Gates walks in and Warren
I've
Buffett
sat
walks
there
in.
at 2 a.m. at Clinton Global,
Yeah,
and they should have
yeah,
2:30
yeah.
President Clinton will come
But
walking through, or Bill Gates at 2:30 in the morning.
it's
That's your best
crazy. And it's like,
conversations because
yeah,
nobody's around.
exactly. And the thing is, you sit down and they sit down and you have a conversation. It's very difficult to exit a conversation like that. So
Yeah.
that's what happens on Clubhouse. When you're in a room and you stumble upon a room and there's someone in there that is there an icon or someone that you've admired or someone that you really would love to hear or even converse with, because where else can you have conversation like that? You cannot do that. Not even on social media can you actually walk into a room where someone like, I'll give an example. Elon Musk, okay, is in the room, and you have the opportunity to come onto a stage with Elon Musk and ask him 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. But on
And
Clubhouse, it allows you to do that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
the only opportunity is if we're fortunate to be at big events where that audience is, or we hang out at
Yes,
the Getty House
that's gonna
after the Grammy
that's gonna
Awards
be
in
interesting.
LA with Elon and everybody in a small room. My theory on it, Seal, is very simple. It's called scarcity of resources. People want what they
Yes,
think they can have. Or it's
yeah,
the red velvet rope theory. If you put a velvet rope outside of a bar or restaurant, people will wait in line. And
yes,
sometimes when
yeah,
you walk
yeah.
in, there's only 4 people there, but the line outside's 40. So
40, yeah,
so that
very cool.
FOMO is, oh,
It
I
is.
can't get in. I want to be in. So it was brilliant
But
on the
here's but, but
psychology.
but here's the interesting thing. You have to have a clear, concise strategy of why you're using a platform, and a lot of people don't have that.
Correct.
So nowadays, I'm only spending like 3 days a week on Clubhouse because I now have my own room, I have my own following, I have my own community. We're monetizing that at the same time, and like you say, we're staying in our lane. And there's other noise going on in the platform. And the thing is, I see people sitting in rooms for 24 hours a day doing nothing, absolutely nothing sometimes. And like you think to yourself, what are these people doing?
Yeah.
So I think you've got to be very strategic in your approach. Also, branding wise, it's a great place to build your brand. And if you had a brand before Clubhouse and you come on the Clubhouse, it can only accelerate. So I think you just got to be strategic. You like you say, bullseye. You got to know exactly what you're doing, what you're trying to get out. And I think we've managed to do that very successfully, and use the platform as a traffic source and a collaboration source, and then bring everyone off there and have conversations off the platform. So I think it's been a pretty cool ride so far.
Very, very good. And when I said there's 3 questions, you just sort of answered the second one, which is how do you make, no, that
Yeah.
means we're thinking in the same alignment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good.
So for that second question, when how do you use Clubhouse strategically? What are one or two things that have worked for you? And then the third question I'll ask you, which you can segue into, will be what do you think's going to be next? So
Okay.
like
Right.
some
So
tactical things of how to grow your
yeah,
audience
yeah.
or be effective, and then what do you think will be
Definitely. Okay.
next?
I mean, I'm always transparent about how we make money on Clubhouse. So we're currently making six figures a month just off the back of Clubhouse in our group. So this is how it works. Previously, we were spending money on Facebook ads to bring people into our Facebook group where we engage our community, and then on the back of that, we sell them
The
high level
programs.
coaching
Yeah.
programs. Yeah. So now what's happening is because of Clubhouse, because I'm known as the joint venture expert, the branding is there, the bio is very strong. We have a couple of links in there that calls to action, and then I get invited into rooms, some of the biggest rooms on Clubhouse to moderate. So people see me there, my following goes up. I'm nearly at 100,000 followers. And what I do is I basically, we get between 50 and 100 people joining our Facebook group every day just from the back of Clubhouse, which basically allowed us to switch off all our Facebook ads. Those people now, they come across into the Facebook group, and that's where we engage them. So we don't sell, we don't pitch, we don't do any of that on Clubhouse. What I do mention is that we have a community. So if anyone's interested in learning more about joint ventures or becoming a joint venture broker or whatever it is, go and sign up. It's free. Go to the community. So that's how we've been building the community. And then on the back of that, we're doing six figures a month just with all the traffic. But here's the interesting thing, like I was saying before, when we had our Facebook group, we would normally have three questions and then a space to put your email address. When we were spending money on Facebook ads, every single person that would come from a Facebook ad, they wouldn't fill all the questions. They wouldn't give, or everyone wouldn't give us their email address. However, from Clubhouse,
Yeah.
every single person that comes through, yeah, fills
The
in all the
engagement's
questions.
been amazing.
Yeah, and they all give us their email address. And
Yeah,
these are high level people who have got the money and who have
sure.
got, yeah, the resources. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So let's in the final moments we have, let's move over to lane 3, because let's
Cool.
talk about the program you offer. That's where
Yeah.
having a family and kids, you can't scale time. There's only so much you can spend in Clubhouse.
Correct.
The programs you offer something you can actually scale and duplicate.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the program you offer, how that works, how people can engage with you on that front.
Okay, so my business model has always been the same. 10 years ago, I was inundated with deals. Okay, we had so many deals that I couldn't handle all these joint venture deals, for example. So then I started training other people to take my deals and work my deals. That's how the actual program came about. It wasn't like, oh, how can I make money doing coaching programs? It was born out of a necessity to train other brokers to take my deals and split them 50-50. Now, with the pitch room I have on Clubhouse, which is every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 a.m. EST, we get between 20 to 40 deals per pitch room. Okay. And now those deals, who's going to take care of them? So my coaching program is specifically designed to train other people to do what I do, clone me, give them unlimited deal
Scale and
flow.
duplicate.
Exactly. So unlimited deal flow is the name of the game. So people who come onto the program, they're guaranteed unlimited deal flow, which means you don't have to go out and get your own clients. You don't have to go and get business. I will give you all the business you need in the world. You just go out and do it, and we split that 50-50. So that is basically how my certified joint venture broker program came about and how we do it now. And I used to do it as a boot camp, which obviously we were talking previously. I did it in I used to do it 3 or 4 times a year in Las Vegas for the last 10 years. I did the last one in March last year. We had COVID after that. Couldn't do any more boot camps. So we basically took the program online as an online coaching program. But I'm hopefully waiting for the world to open up, because I do want to go back to do these intimate boot camps, because I love doing boot camps. And I think people get much more from a 3-day boot camp and with the mentoring than they would do from the online
Yeah.
coaching program. But I can't wait till the world opens up again.
It'll happen again. One of my little shortcasts was virtual can't last forever. It's
Yeah.
great if you're operational, but to be somebody like you, the touch points of being in a room and building that just can't be duplicated no matter
Correct.
how much. And I love the Zoom guys. They're friends of mine. I interview them, but you can't duplicate that in-person process. For the
No.
program you have, Sohail, how's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you or learn about that? Is it the Facebook group? Not everybody's
Yeah,
in Clubhouse yet. Is it the YouTube
exactly.
channel?
Yeah, great question. I'd say first of all, what I want everyone to do is just to go to my website to download my free book, which is freejointventurebook.com. basically, that is the book that I wrote with Conrad Levinson before he passed away, the father of guerrilla marketing. And that is my book, Guerrilla Marketing and Joint Ventures. Now, everything in that book will help you understand how joint ventures work, how joint venture brokering works, how consulting works. And obviously from there, if you want to take it to the next level, once you've basically downloaded the book, then you'll get access to my private, my joint venture group on Facebook. That will come as an addition to the book when you download it. So instead of going to Amazon and paying $20, you can download the book for free. Just go to freejointventurebook.com, download the book from there. You get access to the joint venture group also, and then we can continue the conversation in the community there.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, the benefit with Zoom is we get to see each other and be efficient. But it's not like Clubhouse where we're going to roll this out for 2 or 3 hours. But I feel like you and I could spend hours and hours just talking and going through
Definitely.
things. But Sohail Kahn, the joint venture group, the joint venture expert, appreciate your time. Be safe in London, and hopefully we'll catch up in Dubai.
Thank you.